Today's topic-based Zoom is on entering leave transactions. We'll go over leave of absence overview, request extended absence, administer extended absence, leave approvals, resources, best practices, and key takeaways. And we'll end with a Q&A. Leave of absence overview, key terms, process overview, primary pages, accrual cadence, and payroll calendar. Here's a quick look at the key terms. We won't go over all of them, but they're here for you to review in the future. Next slide. Leave of absence process overview. This is an overview of the leave of absence process. The initiator will review benefits information with employee if the employee informs the location of the leave of absence prior to the beginning of the leave. This is especially important for unpaid leave of absence. The initiator will also enter and submit the extended absence request in UCPath, and then the AWE automatically routes the absence request to the approver. Next, the approver will review the leave information, approve or deny the request, can also make updates as needed. If updates are made, be sure to enter a note describing the change. And the approver will, once the request is approved, it'll be routed to the next approver at UCPC WFA production. Finally, at the UCPath Center, they review the leave of information. They can approve, deny, or push back. If approved, UCPC WFA production enters the leave into the employee's job data. After the leave is entered in the job data, UCPC WFA production adds a note in the absence request, then approves it. Once the absence request is approved, an automatic email message is sent to the location approver. If there are any issues with the request, UCPC WFA production does not update the employee's job data and has the option to deny the request or push the request back to the previous location approver for edit. Extended absence, leave of absence types. Leave of absences are applicable to all employee records, multiple jobs, unless otherwise indicated in the absence request. A new leave of absence request must be initiated if the transaction is canceled by UCPC, denied, or when the leave type changes. For example, from paid to unpaid, FML to non-FML, FML to medical, and the exception is that you can update a workers' compensation leave to medical using the same absence request. And on the right side, you'll see FML and leave of absence types. Next, extended leave of absence, primary pages. Here are the transaction pages, request extended absence, administer extended absence, and view only pages are the benefit summary page, admin review absence balance page, and the extend absence transaction history. And a note about the benefit summary and election form. There are two forms you should provide to an employee when they inform you of the need for an unpaid leave prior to the beginning of the leave. And that's the benefit summary and benefit election form. And that's available on the benefit summary page in UCPath. Yes, and here's the benefit summary page. If the employee does not return the election form, they're going to continue their current elections and will be billed by UCPC for all the enrollments that they're currently enrolled in. If the employee returns the election form, UCPC will update their benefits and cancel anything that they do not choose to continue during their leave. And if they decide to cancel all their benefits during their leave, then they will not receive a statement from UCPC. The forms can be completed and submitted to on the UCPath site or via fax or via mail. And then the UC continues to pay for employer portions of health, vision, and dental, including or during any FML leave. So you'll see the print summary and election form button right there. And you'll want to update that benefit as of date to a month prior so that it'll populate the employee's monthly costs. And then once you've printed those forms and provided to the employee, you can check that box. Admin review absence balance page. You can find the navigation to the admin review absence balance page on the left, in the left blue box. You'll use the as of date field to select the pay period for which you want to review an absence balance. Use the review absence balance page to view an employee's current and past leave balances. Accrual cadence. Monthly employees accrue on a monthly basis. For monthly employee, the takes processed in the current pay cycle are from the previous calendar month and appear for the previous as of date on the admin review absence balance page. And for biweekly employee balances are updated every pay period with takes. Biweekly employee accrue on a quadra-weekly basis. And here's a payroll calendar and the impact for leave transactions. For leave of absence transactions to impact payroll, they must be submitted and approved locally no later than 3 p.m. on the employee data change deadline. Request extended absence. Dates, leave types, FML, CFRA, PDLL, paid and unpaid, last day worked, and then FMLA, CFRA, PDLL adjustments. Request extended absence summary. So the extended absence summary section displays the history of leaves submitted for the employee. The leave history can include up to 2 years of information post go live. Click each tab to view additional information. And here's the navigation is on the left, and then you'll use the new extended absence request to section to enter or initiate a new extended absence. So here we go. The new extended absence request section to enter an absence request, you'll use that. And the start date will be the date that the employee begins leave and effective date of the leave in job data. So, and then the expected return date will be the date that the employee is expected to return to work. It's the department's responsibility to make sure this date is accurate and up to date. Initiators should review the expected job end date in job data or workforce job summary page before submitting a leave to ensure that the expected return date is not beyond the expected job end date. And a note about the actual return date, you'll want to complete that after the employee returns to work. And UC San Diego's best practice is to adjust the expected return date to match the actual return date. So consecutive absence requests. The start date of the next leave equals the expected date, return date of the prior leave. And you'll want to update the expected return date and the actual return date to match. And then you'll notice that the last day worked is the same on each row. And this is for the consecutive absence requests. And then you notice that there's only one actual return date. Extended absence details tab. Leave type options. The start date and expected return date fields are required to view and select the leave types. The leave options that appear are dependent on the eligibility group assigned to the employee. For example, academic employees have sabbatical options available. Leave types that include asterisks may also require FMLA, CFRA, PDLL to be selected for federal or state law. So you can review the extended absence request leaves and description job aid on the UPK site for a description of each leave type on this list. So extended absence, the details tab, FMLA, CFRA, PDLL leave options. If applicable, select an option from the FMLA, CFRA, PDLL leave list. You'll notice new leave reason codes for under FML for qualifying exigency leaves. And you can enter this FMLA for PDL leave field in combination with the leave field in this same absence request. So if it's a medical, but also FMLA, you can use one request to show a single row indicating medical leave and employees SHC FML. Extended absence details tab, continue. Paid and unpaid options. There are 3 options for paid and unpaid field. When the leave changes from one paid status to another, a new extended absence request is required. And here are the paid, unpaid options and the descriptions. Last day worked. The last day worked field is required for all extended leave of absence. Enter the last date the employee was physically at work. The date must be at least 1 day prior to the start date of the leave. The field informs UCPC's benefits billing of the employee's last day worked and is used to complete the UC statements to disability vendors if applicable. So extended absence details tab, FMLA, CFRA, PDLL, adjust hours. So unpaid leave of absence can use adjustment hours. And these adjustment hours field is used for employees with the alternate schedules only. And you'll want to enter the FMLA, CFRA, PDL usage hours for the entire leave period. If the manual hours are provided, UCPath does not automatically calculate FMLA, CFRA, PDL hours and deduct from the balance. You'll want to use manage accruals. And then paid leave of absence cannot use adjustment hours. FMLA, CFRA, PDL hours should be sent through UC San Diego time and attendance systems. So the workers' comp tab. The workers' comp tab displays if a workers' compensation leave type is selected. The sum of the percent of the fields must equal 100%. Oh no. Once approved, the WC percent values are captured in the JUD section of job data. Extended absence details tab, notes. The notes button is only available on the extended absence details tab. Notes are required for any requested or edited leave of absence request. Notes provide leave initiators, approvers, and UCPC history of the leave of absence request. UCPC relies on notes for guidance in processing the absence request in employees' job data. So here's an example of requesters' notes. You can put the employee is on paid or unpaid, intermittent or reduced schedule, like you would want to enter that, and then the leave type, and then the reason for the leave, and then the start date with an expected return date of, and that way the approvers can validate what you are trying to do with what was actually entered. Add and delete rows. The add and delete rows buttons are only available on the extended absence details tab. Click the plus button to insert a new absence request row used to enter concurrent or consecutive leaves for the employee. And then you can click the minus button to review an absence request row. Transactions can be saved or submitted for approval. Ensure all the appropriate documents or approvals outside of UCPath have been attained prior to submitting an absence request in UCPath. Save. The LOA request is saved, but not yet routed for approval. Use if you're still waiting on required documents or local pre-UCPath approvals. Saved requests are accessed on the request extended absence page. Submit. The LOA request is routed for approval via AWE. And once submitted, you can only view transaction from the transaction history page or the administer extended absence page. Administer extended absences. Administer extended absence page, workflow statuses, when to create versus edit, and returning from leave and canceling a leave request. Administer extended absence. Displays This page displays the leave data and the transaction status once the extended absence request has been submitted. The actions available on this page: edit, approve, and cancel. The workflow status identifies where the absence request is within AWE. So when it's with the initiator, it will show saved, approved, or canceled. When it's with the first approver, local, it will show submitted or sub-cancel. With the second approver, which is UCPath, it'll show approval process, PRC, or app cancel. The page also displays the action and action reason fields. These codes are reviewed and manually entered into the employee's job data records by UCPC WFA production. All impacted job records within a business unit or related business unit are updated for the employee unless otherwise indicated in the leave of absence request. So here is the workflow status categories and descriptions. You can review that in the future. And when to create when to edit versus create a new extended absence. So the edit is for when an employee must extend or shorten their existing leave, and there's no change in the leave type. The leave must be changed from a workers' comp to a medical, or the leave must be canceled, or the employee returns from leave. And when you would need to create a new one, the employee is when the employee must change from one leave type to another leave type, or the employee must change from paid to an unpaid leave, or from unpaid to paid. And when entering a new absence request in these situations, ensure the start date of the new absence request matches the expected return date of the existing absence request. Return from leave. You must submit an edit to your absence request to return an employee from leave. It does not happen automatically. If you do not return an employee from their leave, UCPC will not update the job data. And for unpaid leave of absences, that means the employee will not get paid. Timing considerations. So employees returning from an unpaid leave cannot complete time entry until the return from leave transaction is fully processed. If an employee is returned and job data is updated after the close of the pay period in the time and attendance system, the department must submit an off-cycle pay request for the time the employee was unable to enter. Transactors can check the date created field on the work location tab on the job data inquiry page to see when the record was updated to active payroll status and determine if the update occurred prior to the close of the pay period in the time and attendance system. Workers' comp and time and attendance. UCPath will assume responsibility for all payment coordination events needed for an employee who is on workers' comp leave with pay. There is no need for location to submit time for an employee on leave unless he or she falls under the following categories. The 3-day waiting period. In the beginning of a workers' comp leave, typically the employee will have to use his or her own time to cover the determined cover period determined as the waiting period the first 3 days. This time will come to UCPath Center via time and attendance. Time worked. When the employee is on an intermittent leave, time worked will come to the UCPath Center via time and attendance. It is essential for the location to submit hours worked so that UCPath Center can determine hours to be calculated for supplemental pay. And waiting to be accepted. There may be a period during which an employee will have to wait for a claim decision from Sedgwick. If the location decides to allow the employee to use his or her leave balances until the claim is accepted, those hours will be submitted through local time and attendance. Once the claim is accepted, UCPath Center will credit back any leave balances due to the employee and process any adjustment needed. All right. Cancel a leave of absence request. The method used is dependent on status of the approval process. So method 1 is if the status is approved. And method 2 is if it shows that it's approved PRC. So method 1, cancel from the administer extended absence page request or request page. Use when absence request has been approved by UCPC and entered into job data. And method 2 is you'll want to submit a ticket to UCPC to request they deny the transaction. So you'll use this when it is in AWE at UCPC, but has not been approved or entered into job data. UCPC communication with leave transactors. UCPC may create a case to ask questions about a leave transaction that's in progress. UCPC may create a case to ask a question about the leaves you have not entered yet if the employee has indicated through a vendor they will be going out on leave. Leave approvals, critical fields from the UPK and what not to approve. So here are the critical fields for the leave of absence. You'll want to closely review dates to make sure they are not overlapping leave types on a particular date or dates. Review notes to ensure they include appropriate detail. And if you deny a leave of absence transaction, include an edit. The initiator must submit a new absence request. And here are some screenshots from the UPK of where the approve button and the deny button, you'll use it to approve or deny a request. And here is the deny button. Once you approve or deny, you won't be able to update So resource review, we made it to resource review. Websites, Cognos leave reports, where to go for leave policy guidance, pay for family care and bonding. Resource review. So here's the link to the UCPath job aids and quick references. And we have 3 great job aids, local job aids. And at the UPK site, you can find a lot of different UPKs, job aids, and step-by-step instructions. They're there for your future reference. And Cognos reports. Here are some reports that you may find useful to help monitor your leaves. And where to go for leave policy guidance. For leave policy guidance, please contact employee relations. And here is the link to the employee relations team. And the following areas are managed by Marco Hermosillo, VC Resource Management and Planning, VC is Advancement, ITS, and Central HR. Pay for family care and bonding. Under the proposed Pay for Family Care and Bonding program, effective July 1st, 2021, employees who take approved leave to care for a seriously ill family member or bond with a new child will be eligible to receive up to 70% of their wages for up to 8 weeks. Details about the Pay for Family Care and Bonding program will be shared as soon as they are available, along with educational and training resources. If you have questions in the meantime, please email paidfamilymedicalleave@ucop.edu. And new job aids and trainings will be available in June. And here's a link to UCNet's article. Best practices. You'll want to review approved LOA paperwork as well as an eligibility and benefit summary before entering LOA requests in UCPath. Always adjust expected return dates to reflect latest leave status. Ensure the expected return date is not beyond the expected job end date. And update the expected return date to the actual return date or to have them match. Remember to enter sabbatical credits used on leave transactions. There is no error message if not entered. And always review payroll processing schedule when performing extended absence leave transactions. Routinely check the Cognos extended leave monitoring report. Key takeaways. A new or a change to an existing absence request requires local approval and UCPC approval. UCPC is part of approval workflow engine routing for leave of absence requests and will update job data if required after the approval of the leave of absence. A new leave of absence request must be initiated when the original transaction is denied by or canceled by UCPC or the leave type changes. There are 2 forms you should provide to an employee when they inform you of the need for an unpaid leave of absence prior to the beginning of the leave: benefit summary and election form. Workers' compensation leave is the only leave request that can be converted to medical leave without adding a new request. As soon as you know an employee is not returning from leave on the expected return date entered in the system, update the expected return date to reflect the new date. When an employee returns from a leave of an actual return date must be entered in the Administer Extended Absence page. Sabbatical leave of absence require entry of service credit taken. Sabbatical leave of absence is the only leave type where actual return date is entered at the time the leave request is initiated. Alternate work schedules require entry of all unpaid FMLA, CFRA, PDLL leave hours in adjustment hours field. For leave of absence transactions to impact payroll, they must be submitted and approved locally no later than 3 p.m. on the employee data change deadline. UCPC is the system of record for absence requests and accrual balances. Use the Cognos Extended Leave Monitoring Report to track employee expected return dates, and requester notes are required for all leave of absence transactions. Thank you for joining us for the topic-based Zoom on entering leave transactions.